think that exceeds the definition of a quote. That was more like a story.
It was an interview that
It was
I
an
watched.
interview. There we go. Actually, I'm looking at the notes that you made. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, girl, you actually might have did a little research or saw some. You might have actually read the news or something. It's very unlike you.
I felt like I had to pick up some of the slack.
Some of the because I actually got some real good stuff on there. You just decided my stuff wasn't good enough.
What are you talking about? Where was your stuff?
I here part-time pros, Dustin Mix, determined product.
Okay.
Those are
Anyway,
like real things.
So today we are podcasting right before we head to the airport.
Yeah, we're gonna fly up into the Panhandle and spend
Your
some
mic's
time with Bree.
very far away from you. Sorry,
All
everybody.
right, everybody.
Chris
yeah.
is decompressing right now live. He's stressing out and this is actually a good topic to talk about. You're handing over the reins for an important responsibility, having owned and run your own company for over a year now. And, it's time, we've been talking about it at home, to hand off some of these responsibilities that can be handled by the employees we have in house. And you've yet to
Team members in house.
What did I say?
Employees.
Oh God. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, so today we've got one of our team members manufacturing for us, Solo.
Well, no, it's not solo.
You just left the vicinity.
I left
of
it, and it's like when
babysitting.
this stops, then wait till I'm free, and we'll pick up back together. And so there's like that education and learning process where I want to walk through. And you're right. And here's the thing in life is like there are people who lead companies, and they'll tell you, you need to work on the business, not in the business.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the joy is actually working in the business. I actually get a lot of joy out of doing tasks. I don't ever really think I actually enjoy taking the trash to the road. Like those are tasks that you could say, oh, you need a janitorial staff, you need this, you need that. But at the same time, like I don't really desire to be like that super high up leader that just says, hey, you guys do all this and I just don't do it. I actually get joy and fulfillment out of doing some of these other tasks.
I actually feel, I heard this the other day, and it was Elon Musk who said it in an interview, but it was years ago. And it was discussing management and leadership in a company. And, I'm so sorry. It was not Elon Musk. It was Steve Jobs. So,
okay.
Anyway.
So it was really long ago.
Correct. It's still, I felt like it was a valid point.
Okay,
but
what did he say?
I didn't want to misquote who I was speaking about. He was talking about how managers who get into these positions who just want to tell other people what to do are actually horrible managers with high expectations of salaries, and they're not actually doing anything.
Agreed.
And he's like, the people that I want being managers that are going to help grow this business are the people that are so damn good at what they do, who are so embedded in the everyday, who don't actually want to be managers, but they know they have to be in order to help, escalate the sales or process or whatever it is that they're doing. So he's like, it's these people who are apprehensive to manage other people because it's not actually what they want to do, but they lead by example. And then you're left with a very passionate leadership team of doers versus sayers. And I there's a huge difference there.
I agree.
There really is.
I have three things to say to that. One is that's really good. Two, I
Even
agree
though
with
it was so long
and
ago.
three, I think that exceeds the definition of a quote. That was more like a story.
It was an interview that
It was
I watched.
an interview. There we go. Let me give you 50% of the interview.
We can
and
just play it.
But you know what? I'm actually a big thing of that. And I think everyone here knows, and I think you know that I will get into the weeds of all I think if you know your company, you know every aspect of it. And as you grow,
should.
It's very easy to not know these things and these answers. And that's when things just kind of, fall to the side or do whatever. And hope that I'm able to dig in there. But going back, this is our dusted brand, and I have had a little bit tighter reins on the manufacturing process. I built the manufacturing facility, the way it works, the how everything goes, the rest of everything. And so now, and we've had help, right? So we have people that help, and I don't do it alone.
People, my father.
No, and we have
I
others.
know. Yes, we do.
Yeah, we have other part-time team members that come in and help.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, I mean, your father is employee number one. I mean, employee of the month always. Just the guy nails it. He comes dressed like boom. He's in the part,
I know.
you
He's got the polo and the hat
Yeah,
on.
I mean, he's always in
plays the
uniform.
part.
He's always on time.
For sure.
I don't know where you got it from because he's always on time.
Excuse me? That was that's probably the hardest Maria's laughed at a comment on the podcast.
Yeah. So,
I got a bone to pick.
But
with
anyways,
these people.
you've encouraged me as one of our other ventures is slowing down because in the wintertime it was like, hey, let's start teaching and parlaying this team member into that area. And so
Well,
I agreed with you.
I think that's also a really good point before you move on to this specific topic is that like business is seasonal. In every business, there's busy times and there's not so busy times. And when you're not as busy with the actual fulfillment of orders, let's just say, then you need to make sure that there's preparation for new campaigns or there's something going on. And it's like you have to constantly be looking in the business and on the business to understand like, okay, if we're going to slow in these areas, these people's responsibilities are also going to slow, but you want to keep your people busy. So like, do you have, sure, 30, 60, 90-day goals set up for your employees to say like, here's what I need you working on in the next quarter, kind of anticipating what business looks like, revenue looks like, and just the demand on that one individual. I mean, it's hard when you're such a small company. A lot of people are wearing a lot of different hats, but it is important to make sure as much as you're working in the business that you're also paying attention to the use of the resources that you have, because it can very easily be like, you want go-getters, but to a certain extent, sometimes people don't know what they don't know. Like they can't just be like, I'm going to go in there and start manufacturing on my own, because without your approval, that's not acceptable. Right. So it's like there is an extent where you have to put the time aside to train. And we're going through that right now. It's like when you have so much going on in a business, it's hard to even onboard new people because it takes time to train. You want to have a good experience for that person. And
yeah, we just made that decision.
But yes, so I'm glad that we're starting to, expand the training to some of our team members to do more with less.
Yeah. And so I'm in the process of that. So it's like we have orders to get out. We have a lot of bottles to get out before we leave. And it's kind of like turning the reins over at the same time. And there's a degree of, I don't necessarily get anxiety. What it is, it's just, making sure that we don't have a catastrophic failure. Right. So like, I'm pretty sure everything's going to go fine. But of course, when I'm leaving, this is like my baby. Like the company's like my baby, right?
It's not like your baby. It is.
It's my baby. It is. It is
I
my
wonder if people are people okay with
red-headed stepchild.
It's not a red-headed stepchild at all.
I know.
Red-headed stepchildren are called that because they get a lack of attention. It's like, oh, this is the forgotten about one. This is the one we don't pay attention to.
And
it's
the
kind
company's
of
like my golden child.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have a lot of goals for us to achieve. And, as we get near the end of the year and our first year here in the office and in business, it's good to look back and remember where we've come from. It's very easy for me sometimes to get discouraged when I make the window 30 days or 60 days. I have to actually look back and go, wow, look at what we did in the last 12 months.
I think that goes for anything. Like even when I was a manager inside of other companies, the employees that you have working for you, you kind of get, a lot of people are like, we hate the paperwork. We don't do, performance reviews or end of year reviews or anything like that. And you know what? I have opinions on that. It's like, and they're not right or wrong. It's just, there needs to be constant communication about areas of growth in the moment where growth is needed or training or anything like that. So those companies who say we don't do those reviews, my expectation and assumption is that your communication's so good on a daily basis. The goals are so clear that maybe you don't necessarily need like one review every 12 months, because what the hell does that do for someone if you're telling them like, well, back in March, you know, and it's
Right.
December, you know, you could have done better on this project. It's like, well, did we talk about it at the time? If you did, fine.
Right.
You know, if it's dictating maybe like
Yeah.
annual salary increases or something, that's fine. But what I was going to say is that it is really important to take the time. It doesn't necessarily have to be a review of an individual, but even as a team to say, look at what we've done. And we have transparent communications with the team on a monthly basis to talk about goals and where we're headed and what we did the month prior. But when you really look back, you know, quarterly, biannually, annually, and you're like, here's what we've done, I think a lot of times people can get down about the everyday, or maybe a dip in traffic, or maybe a dip in sales one month. But really you're like, hey, but we were at 0 12 months ago and now we're at
Right.
X, you know?
Well, and that's the thing, is that we have a couple of products that are very summer heavy products, and sales are going to, although they haven't dipped, we know that theoretically they should dip. And so obviously we've got other products in line that can just power through the winter. So, but yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm always thinking about. And then of course, right now, you know, we just had the election this week. And so, you know, it blows my mind when people I literally woke up Wednesday and I was like, okay, another day to get back to work. Like, I did not feel one way or the other except to focus on what our things were. And it is so amazing how many people make decisions or hold off on decisions based off of things like election cycles or other things going on in the world. It's like, you know what? Time's your biggest ally, right? So you just kind of power through, and it, you know, it doesn't matter what's kind of what's going on. You need to stick to what you can control.
I agree. So I will say, and we will tread very lightly surrounding a very sensitive topic for many, that there are people who are both mentally and, to the extent I would say physically, impacted by elections prior to and after results. You know, the passion that goes into it, the education they choose to gain themselves over what their decision's going to be, and looking into, especially as a business owner, you know, what would be the best decision for you. Now, to your point, you control what you can control. And if
Right.
you have goals and initiatives as a business, because there are some aspects, you can, you know, cast a vote, sure, in your favor to your belief system, but also you need to move on and continue to just attempt to reach those goals. Now, I did see an article this morning
Oh my God.
that did say the Fed is announcing that they're going to do another interest rate cut of another 0.25 basis points or 25 basis points. And so there are industries, like if you were in real estate or in certain areas where, I don't know if it would dictate what you're going to do on a day-to-day basis. You wake up and you do your job, but it is good to be aware of some of the factors that can change or impact your industry based on a presidential election. But again, I shouldn't say nothing's going to change overnight. I'm sure for a lot of people, they feel a lot changed overnight. But speaking from a perspective of actual changes in laws, bills, decisions, you know, inflation, economy, like that's not a snap of a finger.
I agree.
Oh my God.
You know,
I can't believe you just left me out there like that.
this happens occasionally, and you were talking, and I saw something in your notes, and I started zoning out, and I zoning out because I was trying to remember. You have a note here that says,
I love how you...
Jason Kelsey smashes fan's phone for gay reference when
my
referring to
gosh.
his bro and Taylor Swift. Regrets meeting him at that level. Now, there's a couple things in this
The
thing.
fact
Why,
that you just
this is why I
read that out loud, that is not how I would have presented.
Okay, one,
the
it's not even
topic.
English. Like you are amazing at
Those
talking.
are my notes.
I know, but I couldn't read that, and I don't think his name's Jason.
Jason is the brother. See, you are so uninformed. Jason is Travis Kelce's brother. Jason
Okay.
also plays professional football.
Oh, he
One of the
does?
fans,
This is how
yes,
much
there's
I know.
two brothers that play football on separate teams.
Okay.
And one of the fans the other day made a
Okay.
comment when Jason Kelsey, Travis's brother, was
Okay.
walking outside the stadium, and he made a reference saying something, and I don't know exactly what it was, so I'm not going to quote it, even though the videos are all over the internet, about how Travis is gay. I don't know if it's because of, the stylish clothes he wears or whatever with Taylor Swift, or some sort of comment about his brother and Taylor. And this was going to be way down the line if we had time to talk about it today, but you got distracted, which I love how you're like, it never happens. I'm like, no, it's pretty much
happens all the time.
dinner every night of our lives. Like, I'm in full blown conversation. And anyway, so he took the fan's phone and smashes it on the ground and used the same terminology back at the guy.
Okay.
And his comments
Totally
after
going to
the
Google this after.
his comments
My
after
entire
the
afternoon
fact.
is predicated off of just watching this video.
Well,
now.
good thing you have time when we're on a plane. But
Right.
his comments afterwards were just that he was upset at himself for, one, using this particular word, which I don't know what it was, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't say it, if it's that bad. And two, Travis Kelce comments and was like, my brother was protecting his family. And I think it's really hard in the limelight when you have so much going on, because they are following them and that family's
Oh my
every
gosh,
move.
you're watching every move.
Every move. I mean,
it's
by the way,
ridiculous.
this Jason Kelsey, he's got a big old beard. He's like a nice guy, but he's like Mr. Fun, like parties. He's got his own wife. He's got his own life.
I hope he's got his own wife.
I just mean, like,
The brothers, they're Sharon Taylor. What?
oh my gosh, that's not what I meant at all. Anyway, you got me so
He's
distracted.
got his own
now.
life.
But it's like he was like, I'm pissed that I met them at that level. Like, some
Okay, that
people
makes
go
sense.
low, and you're like, oh, when they go low, I go high. And of course, like, that's everybody's goal. But it's not to say that you don't get frazzled in a moment, and especially when it comes to family. Like, I can't imagine being in the limelight and just some random saying anything about anyone in my family. I would probably really struggle to not lose my shit.
Yeah.
And I know
Well, let's
you
hope,
would.
yeah. Let's just hope. Well, one, I saw you lose your shit
When?
over the cooler lady. So I pretty much
First
have
of all, that is literally a one-time thing in the.
But I'm saying I know what it would be like.
It was when the dog peed on the cooler, guys. If you
we don't have to
listen
go
to
into
a
deep. We
previous
talked about that over the
episode,
summertime,
yeah,
but like,
really
but
feel
anyway,
bad
but
about
the thing is, I think that's actually very much in line with like when people say things about that and people get up in emotion, is very much a really great reason why we're kind of like through this election cycle and everything's kind of going to settle down, is because people can be very passionate about their beliefs, and there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that, you know, when you start disliking others or judging other people because of their beliefs, and the reason why we're in America is because, you know what, everyone's entitled to those beliefs, right? And if you feel passionate about something, then you should go out and advocate for it, volunteer your time, put your money into it, or do whatever you can.
There's definitely a lot of hatred, unfortunately, in the world. People making comments. And I mean, whether it's politics, religion, money, fame, I mean, all of these, it's like when you're young, I feel like you grow up and it's like, these are the things you don't talk about at a dinner party. And it's like, those rules should still stand. But many people, there's so many gray areas these days, because the other aspect of it is like, hey, I have morals and values, and I can't help but speak about these things. And so and you've always been the type of person who says, I'm 100% accepting of any beliefs, whether they're aligned with mine or not, if there's education behind it. Like, I actually want to have a conversation. I can have a healthy debate. I can do it without having hatred, associated in the conversation. And I think that's healthy. But a lot of people struggle to keep the emotion out of the conversation. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like you just went into another world again. Like, I don't know what's going on today, but I'm having like full discussions that would have like another side to it. And you're just like, yeah, good point. Moving on.
You know, part of what you're saying is not untrue. I think you have you have great feedback, and today is one of those days
feedback.
where my mind is going all over the place.
This is what,
and it's like
you
squirrel.
guys,
Today's a squirrel day.
this
It's
is
squirrel.
what happens when he has to leave the business. His golden child.
Yes, I
this
am
is
leaving.
not a redheaded stepchild. This is literally his.
Leaving on a jet plane.
I know. He's taking one day off. It's a Friday.
I'm taking a day and a half off.
Listen.
We're leaving here in like an hour. It'll be like lunchtime. And so like a lot of things got to get done. I can, do it on my phone and my laptop, and I'm mobile, but one is I'm like 40% as efficient on my laptop that as I am on my Megatron.
This is a good
desk.
note. Oh, I will agree. I hate working off of a laptop versus
Small
having like
screens.
dual,
Yeah, I
screens
got
and
mine.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it is tough for you to
Yeah.
unplug.
And the
This
thing
is a
is-
mental note to self. If we're gonna leave ever, then I need to make sure we do the podcast at least like 2 days in advance.
Yeah, that, and also like we're leaving on a Thursday, and there's something to be said, when you're leaving during the day, when it's like disrupting a day and a routine. I don't necessarily have a routine because we do a lot of different cool stuff here. So I'm constantly kind of bouncing around and doing other things. We have meetings throughout the week. But I'm thinking about some client projects that are going on that have some deliverables and some things that are fresh from the morning meetings to document, get those out. And so like those are on my mind. A couple other things, but I'm not going to mention them because they would call people out. So, but in our notes here, we were just manufacturing early this morning, and we had one of our. So I have a note here for like part-time members versus pros and cons and bringing in individuals, and it's something that you and I have talked about a lot, which is hey, let's add. We'd love to add part-time people to the mix and kind of start adding people to. And being able to pay them, and because it's like you go from like no employee to then okay, I got to fill 40 hours.
I want to make a comment really quick.
Okay.
On days when there's a lot going on in your head, I'm realizing it in the moment. Like typically you're very well spoken. My notes might be disheveled, but like there's so many thoughts going on in your brain
I'm
sometimes.
just like jumping around, ping
like,
pong.
It's like half sentences and like thoughts, and it all makes sense to me because I'm so used to you. But like,
That's okay.
anyone,
Lunchtime is. Later we will. Tomorrow shall be.
100%.
Can't wait to.
You're like, and you start going like, and thing, and like, you're, so anyway, you were talking about part-time team members. And
Yeah,
we've
I'm trying
had,
to make the connection and jump around based off of the notes. Thank you for derailing my soapbox. But
I know,
but we like so it's funny because you were telling a story the other night, and I was just like, okay, like I've had enough of the backstory. I really need you to get. I was fading, and I was like, I'm paying attention, but because I am paying attention, I'm realizing that the time is just going, and we haven't got
by the way,
to
everyone,
the point
he is
of the story.
so extreme because this was over the course of literally 2 minutes, and I was providing context, but his attention span.
That's the thing, is that time slows down when you're telling stories. So you thought it was 2 minutes. We were clearly at like the 8-minute mark. Okay, we were clearly at the 8-minute mark.
No, we weren't.
So,
we're not.
So we're talking about hiring and bringing on team members, and one of the things is like you jump from 0 hours to 40 hours, and so there's a you would love to be like, you know what, I just need 20 hours of work done right now, right? And so it's like there's a great idea. It's like, hey, let's bring in a part-time person and do that. But the problem is that you're sharing that time with something else.
You can't expect someone to only be able to pay their bills based off of one part-time
Yes.
job. So chances are they've got another job they need to get to. They've got other commitments that they
Exactly.
have. And so they are giving you part of their time.
Right.
And I've always been a person who will never take on part-time work, or even we've talked about consulting, and I've never gotten into it, even though people have wanted my opinion. I'm like, I'm here. I will give you my opinion. I'm more than happy to like have consultative phone calls, but I'm not going to commit to like actually taking money for it because I'm either all in or all out. And even if I
Right.
was like, oh, I'll be part-time for you, my mind goes crazy. And then I'm like giving them so much of my time in
I just
off
want you to be
hours.
full-time here.
I am.
Yeah. No,
I
I
have
just want you to
been.
be full time here.
I mean, even if I'm a little late sometimes, I am full
Yeah.
time. But no, I think the point is that then you get these people on part time, and what you really want is to grow an employee into a full time position. But if they do have other commitments, it's like,
Right.
are you able to take them on board full time? And if so, you have to supplement financially, or close to what they're doing in those other jobs to say, okay, I want your full dedication. What does that mean for you to be able to let go of these other commitments if they want to?
Correct.
That's a
Right.
discussion that you're having, right? And so it is a little bit different. And I also think as a startup, it's great. Like there are moments in time where you need someone who's just going to give you a little bit of their time. But I also think there's a huge benefit to having full-time workers because I mean,
Well, we want
they're
people here
plugged
doing
in,
it.
they're
We want
in the
people plugged in.
office. If someone at the office needs something, and this happens today, and there's a part-time worker that you're waiting on, that's exactly what you're doing is waiting on them. It's not
Right.
a discussion.
Or
It's
waiting for them to
Right.
get to that point. And so that's what's just difficult. But yeah, I mean, as I'm looking to, we actually onboarded our first client into one of our software packages yesterday, and then so my mind initially goes to, okay, we are live. Like now we actually have a production version with a client, and we need to focus on pushing more clients into it. And it's like, how do we bring that right team member on to grow that venture when we still have very little revenue to support that without pulling from our other resources? And so these are things that I'm constantly thinking about. So the idea, the concept was, part-time employees, full-time employees, making the jump. And the other one was product mix. And, specifically in our dusted seasoning, we've had this big conversation about our samples. So we actually sell a 5.5 ounce and a 16 ounce product. We give away a 3.5 ounce, and it's a very generous sample. It's a very large sample. And we've gotten a lot of people that have said to us, I think you should make that a product and that you should come up with a smaller sample. Now, the thing is, even if we come up with a smaller sample, we don't necessarily have cost savings on the sample just because of the cost to produce the packaging at a smaller level. But it kind of goes with that whole growing, and being able to manage, being able to produce product and get it out there. And so I don't really have an answer. And I feel like you're doing what I do to you right now,
How does it
which is
feel?
you have, no, I'm not, I'm even joking. Like, I feel like you're doing it on purpose. You're that good. Like you're like, you know what? I'm going to show you exactly what you're doing to me. And so you've given me this look, this blank stare that is hilarious.
No, in my mind, I was like,
And I think,
wow.
what do you think?
Just we're sitting here talking about the size of our product. I mean, it is good conversation if you're in the world of, manufacturing product. I actually did come from.
What are you talking about? Business owners are thinking about this every day. They're looking at their product mix. Should we mow their entire yard, or maybe we should just mow half their yard and see what happens? How far down the bank should we mow? Hey, should we trim? Should we cut trees this week? How often should we cut trees? Like the product mix of whether you're doing a service industry or we're making something. Hey, should we offer 2XL shirts?
I
Should we
came
offer
from
3XL
the large
shirts?
format print industry, and it does make a huge difference. It's like the size of the rolls that you're putting on large format printers and how much material you're putting on that roll and how much you're selling it for. And to your point, it's like a lot of the times it is the size of the bottle. Here, you want me to talk about this with you? I'll have some feedback, but
I'm listening.
But no, I think that the samples that we do give away are huge, but there has to be transitions. Like you got to get it into people's hands.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, at what point you want to have what's called a lost leader sometimes too, where it's like, you're going to get people in the door and you're not necessarily going to be incredibly profitable, but if it helps them buy other product or future product, then it makes sense. And you're willing to take that loss on the sample.
Right.
But there is a point in time, it's like, even, one, do you start to sell that size, and is it more successful than the larger ones? You just don't know what people want unless you try. But sometimes the try is very expensive, to stock it. We actually did, speaking of product mix, our dusted seasoning is a steak seasoning, and a lot of people use it on anything. They use it on burgers, they use it on ribs, they use it on, and we've heard people use it on chicken and shrimp and whatever. Now we promote it on red meat. And so it was like, we need to change the labeling. It needs to say burger and steak seasoning. You can use this for both.
Yes.
And it did jack shit for us. In fact, people weren't.
No, we actually were told we should make a burger version.
Right.
And we
on
made
its own.
And
That's
we
right.
didn't
on
change
its own.
anything. We just changed the packaging. So one said steak, one said burger, and no one gave two anything. So we actually just
No
made
one bought the
one
burger
label.
seasoning. So
No
it was
one bought
like,
the
you know
burger
what?
seasoning.
It's
We
a
actually
steak
had zero
seasoning. You can use it
sales.
on whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, we put it on your chicken or your vegetables. You know, like people do that. And someone asked me that. We were actually at the Cheney Food Show like a week or two ago, and someone said, you know, can I put this on this or that? And I looked at him. I said, look, you can put this on anything you want. I said, I made this for red meat, and I said, anytime someone tells me what they put it on, there's a little part inside of me that dies.
Oh my God, that's not good promotion for your
No,
product.
and we're all laughing, and I was like, you know, and because people know that, like when you're passionate about something that you make, you want people to use it a certain way.
I agree.
It's like a Little Mermaid, right? Like she comes out and she's got the fork and she's doing her hair, and you're like, what?
I
You know?
have no idea what you're talking about. Ariel uses a fork for her hair.
Yes.
And it
it's
upsets
a
someone?
snipple doer,
A snipple.
a snarflat. You don't know these words?
No.
Oh my gosh, you're in for a rude awakening.
No. Oh. Because is Sebastian the one upset?
Sebastian's the crab.
I know that.
Right.
Who gets upset she's using a fork in her hair?
The people.
The humans.
People.
The humans.
No, yeah, the watcher, the one watching the cartoon. You're like, all the little kids in the world are like, Ariel, that's a fork. You need to eat with the fork. It's not a comb. And they laugh
Is this when
at
she
Ariel.
turns into a human?
Oh Lord, we're gonna have to put this on our list here.
She does, right? She gets legs.
Yes, but she does it underwater.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but actually, technically, she does when she's at the table. She sees the fork because
Like
the
it's been a
seagull
really long
tells
time
her
since I've seen
that
it.
it's for her hair. He's the one that says it's for the hair. So then when she's on
The
land,
seagull?
yes, she grabs the fork and does her hair at the table, and they all look at her weight, and she puts it back down on the table.
He's a Disney fanatic. In fact, he wanted for his birthday this year to go on the
Keys to the Kingdom,
the Keys to the Kingdom. It's like the underground tour, but it is.
backlot tour.
I mean,
It's a couple $100.
which
For
is
5
whatever.
hours.
It's fine, but you also need to pay to get your ticket to get into the place
Yeah.
and hotel
Would
and
you go?
whatever.
Are you gonna go? Are you planning to go with me when we go, or are you just like giving me the ticket and I'm going?
You thought I was just going to be like, see ya, have fun?
Yes, actually, you're the type. You would literally go.
No.
Be like, hey, have fun here. I'll be at the pool drinking
Whatever.
margaritas.
No, I would have come. If we do it, I'm going to come.
Oh, that actually makes it way more exciting for me now.
You thought I just was gonna... See ya. I only do that because you have a Disney pass.
If you don't know, like there's
And I don't.
There's
And
a
so there's-
special ticket you can get. It's called Keys of the Kingdom or something like that, and it's an underground tour. So Disney World or Magic Kingdom in Florida is actually built on the second floor. Underneath is an entire network and transit system,
which is crazy town.
Yeah,
But so there's some people that say it does ruin some of the magic for you. But
you think
you're
it's gonna ruin my magic?
No, you're an engineer. You'll think it's
Yeah.
even cooler.
I'm gonna be like, oh, you see that garbage chute right there? It's a suction vacuum.
Probably.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Oh, it's so cool.
But no, what I was going to say is he's referring to me not doing things with him because he actually does have an annual Disney pass and I do not because I don't go enough. But if we're at Disney and we choose to do one park, then he'll get up at like 6 a.m. and be like, I'm going to go ride a ride in another park and I'll be back by the time we go to the real one. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm not coming. Yeah, it is hardcore.
That's pretty cool.
But we have gone way off topic with Disney. I was thinking when we were talking about the Fed and interest rates coming down, we always talk about real estate. But I mean, obviously, a home is a massive purchase. We were just talking the other day. We've got some family members looking to move in the next couple of years. And of course, friends that just did move, even though it's not great market conditions right now. But, I'm curious. We sit there and sometimes do the math, and it's like what your mortgage would be today versus what it would have been for the same exact home literally 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, it's ridiculous how much it's changed. But we also have some friends that moved into a high rise, And they have this amazing view. It's a temporary
Mm-hmm.
location while they're waiting to get into their, final house or whatever. And they have this gorgeous view of the water, but there's another high rise being built.
The Ritz is being built
and
next to
and
it.
I'm like, what do you do in those situations? Because right now it's being built, so it's like you're
Actually, it's
aware.
not being built. It's just land.
Okay. Well, you're aware that there's plans in place
Yes.
to block your potential water view. But it's like if you're going to buy something on the water or spend money in general, like you're going to buy a house, it's like, "Oh, you have this amazing plot of land and a year later the Salvation Army, sets up shop." Like, what does that do to the value of your home? And it's so crazy to think that people pay that money. We actually just Zillowed someone's house that we know the other day and saw what they paid for it. And we're like, oh my God, that's never going to be worth more than what they paid. Like what a bad buy.
But you know what? That's what happened back in 2007 is like everyone bought at the height of the market and then prices have come back. It'll be there.
But it's cyclical, absolutely. But specifically, what do you think about the value of a home decreasing after you purchased it if there was something that was going to be built next to it that either ruined a view, ruined the neighborhood? Like what would you do? If you found out that was going to happen, would you sell immediately and not say anything?
Well, and and that can bite you in the butt because where you and I live today was actually a vacant lot, and I owned the property next to that vacant lot, and I was going to build my home right there. And I actually ended up selling that property because they told me they were going to put low income housing.
That's right. Where they didn't.
Right next to my dream home. And I was like, I'm going to put a lot of money into this. And then I don't want 100 units I mean, literally, when I say right next to me, I'm not talking like around the corner.
No, like 5 feet away.
I'm literally saying the lot over was going to be this. And of course, a different company bought it. And then David Weekley ended up building these gorgeous townhomes on the property that are like just gorgeous. And we ended up moving in one of those. So it was like, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, brought in respectable neighbors, let's just say, versus what you were anticipating.
Yeah. And it's not that it was low income. What it was just density. Because in order to get to low income, you had to have right now we have 17 homes.
Do you have to apply for low income housing? I don't even know how that works.
It's like
I don't
a zoning
mean to sound
requirement.
ignorant.
Yeah. And so, but this was owned by the city. It already came that way. And so they bought it and then they reduced the density down from like 40 or 50. And what would have been it was just been like a bunch of little apartments,
But is it just like it's like, okay, they're a little.
But also 50 cars. Like imagine we have, look at the parking that we have.
I know,
we have
it's
17
terrible.
people. Imagine what it would be like if there was 50. And so it's really, in order to get things more affordable, you got to get density up because of the cost of land, not because we're downtown, right? So the land's very expensive. That's why, people end up, living further away and having to commute, so because it's the further from the work centers.
It is crazy, the population in the cities. Do they continue? My mind just went to a crazy place, but the electoral votes are based on population in states, which is always blows my mind how many electoral votes certain states get and how few other ones get. You're like, wow, you guys must live like one house every 200 miles. like what's happening?
No, seriously.
there?
Well, that's why some states have 2 electoral
land.
votes. Because,
Right.
Because if you went by pure population, they would have 0 votes. So they would have no representation as a state towards an election.
But it's great. So how often do they re-review? Because a lot of people have
The electoral college numbers have gone up over the years.
They have. Yeah. But I feel like since COVID, and maybe I'm completely wrong because obviously it's a major city and I'm sure people move in and out all the time, but I feel like the population of New York City has gone down, and even Washington, D.C., I feel like people are moving outside of the centralized area into surrounding areas, but that brought people from the district into Virginia.
Well, I don't think D.C. gets a electoral college vote. If they do, they get one. I mean, I don't know. DC is
they gotta
the
get
district.
something. Maybe they're incorporated in Virginia?
No.
No way.
Yeah.
Anyone who votes in Washington, D.C., their vote doesn't count?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that.
No, that's insane.
Yeah, there's something special about DC.
We got to look into it.
I'll look it up. We'll provide. We'll see if I feel like there's no vote there. because it's not a state. So
There's no way. It's our capital. The people that live there are the most passionate about politics versus anybody in the entire world. That is where the Supreme Court judges live. Like, what do you?
all right. Well, you know what? We'll see.
There's
We're gonna
no
look it
way.
up. I'm telling you, DC is a special anomaly.
I mean,
place with,
I
like,
know the person who
no
would
souls,
literally be
no
able to tell me
votes,
the answer. I mean, Google could
no
too.
answers, no responsibility.
Don't stop. What are you talking about? Stop.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
none of that. In fact, if we could just rewind this, I don't know what.
I was attempting to be humorous.
It wasn't funny.
Because it's, it's the swamp,
Oh my gosh. Well, and wrapping it up, coming back, right, wrong, or indifferent, it is pretty amazing how businesses have been impacted since the election, specifically Tesla and Elon Musk. The stocks or the share went up 15% on Wednesday.
Well, they also went up because they had been going down for a while. I do believe, if memory serves me right, and I'm not a stockbroker, I don't follow any of this stuff, but I know that he was getting beat up on share price for a lot of different things. But here's the thing, with the Republican
That's a big
Party,
skyrocket overnight.
it's so interesting because we can make assumptions and sit there and go, on one side of the aisle, the agenda is pro environment, pro this, pro that, and you got Solar City, you got Tesla, you have hey, let's go explore the moon. You would think that you would get all these programs to help support and sustain that, and then if you go Republican, it's more like, hey, gas, guzzle, whatever, and that would go down. It's so hard to really find some correlation.
Yeah, it was interesting the other day. Like, there's certain defense companies that you would think, like, if a Republican was voted in, like, that the market would be really good for them. But it's like, well, if it's more so like investment in artillery or
beans and bullets versus
technology,
technology,
right? And so it's like actually kind of crazy.
It is. We actually learned a lot at a little dinner meeting the other day, and it was mind opening. Yeah, it's like we're actually CIA operatives, so we're not allowed to talk about. They're not allowed to talk about this stuff.
I have been watching The Diplomat on Netflix. My parents recommended it. At first, I was like, it's just okay. But now I'm actually.
Is it getting better? Because it's lost me.
I'm a fan.
I actually was excited because you were watching Survivor, and I was like, hey, they're voting on food. Like, this looks interesting.
Oh, yeah, the Survivor auction.
The Survivor auction.
That's so good. I love the Survivor auction. I can't even imagine, like, some people are okay. So the Survivor auction is whether you get money or you find money and you bid on these goods, and it's whoever's got the most obviously can get the thing. But if you're left with the most money, then you lose your vote. So it's not good. And, so people get stressed because you don't know how many items there's going to be. And so it could end at any time. And if you're left with the money, then you lose your power in the game. Yeah. So they get like anxious to do it. And at first you get to see the items and then they're all covered. And so anyway, some people win like a pizza and, amazing things, a margarita and chips and dips and whatever.
Way, I totally want to get like guac and queso and stuff at the airport today.
Okay. I'm glad.
That reminds me. Because we saw that last night and I was like, oh, I really want some guac.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We'll make that happen for you.
Thank you.
But anyway, I was just going to say, I would be one of those people that was just so bitter. Like if I got, because some of the stuff is gross. Like if I got an eyeball or like a.
Do you have to eat them?
Yeah, I think you do.
No, I don't think you have to eat it. The one vegetarian got chicken wings and he was eating chicken wings.
I know.
And then you got to sit there and tell yourself.
He was a vegan, actually.
A vegan. I'm like, is this guy really? Because he was mowing down on those chicken wings.
But you're starving.
I mean, and that guy actually looked like he was starving.
Absolutely.
Like he's like all hunched over and like
beforehand.
you could see his skeleton in his spine.
None of these comments are nice.
It's Survivor. The guy actually looked like that.
And he's won all the immunity challenges.
I know, but that doesn't mean that he looks gaunt. Like I can't. If a guy's gone, I can't say, "Hey,
I'm a reality TV
I'm
girl.
not. What's that word? I'm not being politically correct when the guy looks like a skeleton on Survivor. I think that's fair. It is fair to call him gaunt.
You're on one today.
It's kind of like that Australian break dancer.
This is your transition. No, so I did put a note on there because she stopped dancing.
But did she ever really dance?
No, but she was the Australian break dancer who was in the Olympics that literally broke the internet. There was a news article today that she stopped dancing. And the only reason I cared is because my favorite, the Giggly Squad, Hannah and Paige, because I am a giggler, they did dress up for Halloween on their October 31st show because they're on tour right now. And Hannah was the Australian breakdancer and totally came out and did a breakdance routine that was about just as good as the one that she did in the Olympics, if not better, but it was pretty iconic.
Iconic. That's amazing.
Yeah.
There's only one other note on here.
No,
I feel like getting through all your notes.
I feel like we need to just
No,
stop while
you
we're ahead.
You have one that says paying for seats on a plane.
That is a good topic of conversation. And you need to stop reading my notes out loud. What else do we have here today? Okay. I was just commenting because there's so many low-cost airlines or even, the Deltas of the world, they make you pay for your seats. But if you book a booking together, then, you can...
Are we together?
Yes.
Okay, good.
But that's what I was going to... I like how you're asking an hour before. No, well, this is what I was going to say.
Okay.
So they ask you literally as you're checking in, do you want to, pay for your seat? Some airlines, if you choose at the time of like buying your ticket, then you don't have to pay for your ticket or your seat. They just check you in and it is whatever seat they give you at the time. But this time we're flying Breeze, which is a low-cost airline that's actually owned by Virgin. And it is I believe it's owned by Virgin. Is it? Or JetBlue? I think it's Virgin. I don't know. I'll have to look. Anyway, they started because they wanted to start doing some direct flights in and out of Charleston, and then they're just like small city jumpers, kind of like an Allegiant or a JetBlue. Okay. But I went to check in, and then it was like, do you want to pay for your seats? And all these seats were like $20, $70, $60, whatever, and towards the front of the plane. Of course, it's more expensive. So I was like, no, I still don't want to pay for my seats. You're going to give me a seat on this plane. And the minute that I finished checking in, it was like, your seat's number 15, we're an aisle in the middle. We're right next to each other and we're towards the front of the plane. And I'm like, okay, so if 4 seconds ago I would have decided I wanted to sit in row 15, I would have paid like $40 for them. But instead, in 99% of the time, you don't need to pay for the seat because if your booking is together, they'll put you together. But we got
hosed.
We got when we were flying home from Grenada, and it was American Airlines, and they got us
and they literally
good.
split us up, and it was like, are you kidding me? Like
we're like, there is got to be
travelers.
A single on the
plane.
Put
us in the back next to the shitter. It doesn't matter, but put us together.
I know. Anyway, so thankfully we have our boarding passes. Hopefully nobody can separate us today.
That's good.
Although sometimes separation is not a bad thing, especially at airports.
I think when
we have our moments when we travel.
What's funny is that I think about us and our traveling schedule quite a bit sometimes. And if I remember, and I go back to when we first did some flights and stuff, we would sit and talk to each other pretty much for like 3 hours. Like we'd sit there and we would engage in conversation. And now, we
were in lust.
Is that what it was? Because I will tell you, now it's like we both got our wireless.
I'm pissed because I forgot my
right. And I told you, I was like, we're just going to have to talk to each other today.
And I was like, eh.
And your response was literally like, oh, I have to talk to you? And I'm
I said I brought my book.
Because you put your wireless headset on, you throw a Netflix or show on or something like that. And
we have a splitter. Sometimes we watch things together.
Right. And I totally forgot mine. But because you told me to relax this trip. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to relax.
Do not even blame me.
Yeah. I did bring my drone.
What?
I don't know why.
That is the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, because I figured that we could see wherever what the area that Breeze thing's at, and I could zoom up and kind of see where,
Okay.
I just had ideas.
All right. Well, we'll let you guys know how the trip goes when we get back.
And if we talk to each other.
Debatable.
It's debatable. All right, we're gonna get a drink, margarita, some chips and guac. Thank you. We'll see y'all next week.